Hello everyone and welcome back to more of the Fruit of Grisaia. Here we are. We were the Amane. We've decided her punishment to atone for what she's done, which she didn't really do anything, but she's convinced that she was some horrible person because, well, people, psychologically convinced her that what she did was actually really bad. But you know what? We've decided, so we're going to give her the business. Right then, I'll help you up. Here. Because remember, Amane she kind of latched onto us, she kind of became like our kind of slave person. She kind of did basically whatever she wanted because she thought that's what she had to do to atone for her crimes. So, yeah. But then we said, no, that's not right. But the thing is, we have to approach it delicately because if we just say, yeah, you're forgiven, she's not going to buy that. And she might do something even more drastic and crazy. We don't want that because she can get pretty crazy. What should you do? I've thought this over pretty carefully, weighed all the pros and cons. But let's make one thing clear first. I don't intend to take pity on you because of your past. It's not my way. Everyone has a regret or two, right? It's only natural. It's part of being alive. That said, I also understand yours is a particularly complicated, painful one, it weighs heavily on the heart. Telling you to forget it or don't worry about it, that would be a waste of breath. Remorse that deep isn't just going to stop tormenting you. I know that. You might well end up carrying it on your shoulders for the rest of your life. And this idea that your current good deeds can somehow redeem you for what happened in the past, that's a load of self-serving crap. You've got no choice but to receive your punishment for the rest of your life. I'm not really old or wise enough to say that that's life, like some sort of authority on the matter, but at the very least, I think I'm better accustomed to living with suffering than you. Therefore, I will now arrogantly throw my conclusion in your face. Accept it gratefully. You asked me to kill you just now, right? End your suffering. You're not attached to your life? Yeah, right, I'm just gonna kill another person. Like I can get away with it. No, we're not gonna do that. She's a Amane, for Christ's sakes. Killing would be too good for you. Alright, I accept. From this moment forth, you're gonna live the rest of your life for my sake. It's just some crappy life you picked up off the ground in the mountains, right? Can't be worth that much to you. I'll take it off your hands. Free of charge. What now? You have a problem? You know what? That's too damn bad. You gave your life to me, so I can do whatever the hell I want with it. You have no right to complain. There's nothing to explain. Nothing's really gonna change. Just keep doing what you're doing. Live for my sake. Devote yourself to me. I'm the king. You're my pet dog. Got it? Do you have a water marshmallow fluff for a brain? Fine, I'll put it even more simply and rudely. God damn you. How dare you leave my sister to die? I'll never forgive you. You're my slave for life, you understand? If you understand, bark like a dog, you filthy mutt. Amane, stay with me for the rest of your life. That's your punishment. I just answered this question. Not only can you, you're going to. You have no options. I'll smack you silly if you try to disappear on me. Keep that in mind. You can't get out of this. What now? Spit it out already. Also, I'm not some submachine gun. Oops. know something? You always make this ridiculously ugly face when you cry. It's not very becoming. There. Okay, it's getting annoying already. Gosh. I'll allow you 5 minutes max. If I was nice, it'd hardly be a punishment, would it? As Amane breaks down into tears, I wrap my arms around her and hug her tightly to my chest. There's only one way I can save this woman. And it's not by trying breaking the curse of her past, no. I'll just simply accept everything. Knowing her past, knowing her trauma, I'll accept it all with open arms. I'll provide her the punishment she needs. There's no other way. You know, someday she'll come to understand everything I've done for her. The only person she needs to ask for forgiveness is herself. Until then, I'll be a burden for her to bear. I'll ease her guilt. I will be her punishment. I'll offer her forgiveness, even if no one else in the world does. No matter what anyone says, I'll give her absolution. If I simply stay by her side, someday her penance will reach its end. I know it will. The day will surely come when Amane can forgive herself. Even after those revelations, there haven't been any real major changes in my life with Amane. The only real difference that came to mind, Amane is calmly down on the clingy demands for aggressive sex, and I've started to notice subtle shifts in her emotions. From what Sakaki tells me, this has been going on frequently even before now, but when something happy or fun happens, Amane tends to get a slightly brooding look on her face. Now that I understand these signs of her self-reproach and guilt for what they are, I admonish her. You're allowed to smile. Sometimes I outright order her to do so. And although I know she's still thinking, a cowardly insect like me has no right to be happy, she always manages to give me a sweet, artful smile in response. Amane once told me I had a crappy excuse for her smile, and well, now I understand why she saw through it so easily. She's a far more experienced master of the forced smile. You know, it might sound like a joke, but it seems that Takizono Private Academy actually had formal lessons on how to push your face into an elegant smile. Kazuki had always been even worse at smiling than I was. Imagining her desperately trying to contort her face into a friendly simper is absurdly amusing. Hey Mane, tell me something. That smiling lesson or whatever, I assume Kazuki participated in it as well?
どうだろう。私 D 組だったから A 組の和樹とは授業が一緒になることはなかったし。
But seriously, just thinking about it makes you laugh. Kazuki curtsily politing in time to the teacher's piano with a beaming smile on her face. I'd pay money to see that.
確かに。っていうか、和樹のそんな姿を見たら逆に笑えないような気もするけどね。
Come to think of it, when Kazuki was still a grade school, I'd see her practicing her smile once.
嘘？和樹が？
I'm not sure when this was exactly, but Kazuki came to deliver something I'd forgotten in my classroom. A classmate came up to me afterwards and asked me about her. Why is your big sister always so cranky? In this kind of scared little voice. Of course, I said, that's just normal for her. When I returned home, I told Kazuki, one of the kids in my class thinks you're kind of scary. Guess it was a bit of a shock, even for her. She started practicing her smile in front of the mirror after her bath. Funny, right?
そうだね。
You know, you're allowed to smile yourself, you know, or you can even laugh. God, you look so sullen all the time. It's depressing.
わかってる。6年も前のことだし、もう笑って話せる時期だってのはわかってるんだけどね。
Smiling is the duty of those who are left behind. Please try.
でも、私、和樹のことを思い出すと、やっぱり。
No good, huh? From reading the contents of Amane's diary, I understand that she worshipped Kazuki like a god. I mean, who wouldn't? You know, odds are giving her my standard order to smile now would only worsen her suffering. Now, to be honest, the topic of my sister still stings a bit for me as well, I'm not gonna lie. But I guess I've developed my own way of coping with it. Alcohol, and lots of it. Amane, tell me something. Do you really believe Kazuki's dead?
それってどういう意味?
Not exactly what it sounds like. Well, to be honest, I don't really buy it. I'm certain she's dead on paper, and they did find something that was thought to be Kazuki's corpse at the site. But I just can't believe she died that easily,
それは私だって信じたくはないけど。
I'm going to get into some slightly gruesome territory here, alright? The corpse of Kazuki they found on the site had been cut to pieces. I mean, you know that as well, right? But for some reason they never found her head? What do you think of that? She gave you a hint herself, didn't she? A long time ago, Kazuki told me about a swindle where carefully cutting and pasting makes 10,000 yen notes into 11 slightly smaller ones. And she showed you that similar trick with her similar, 11 carats. Corpses aren't any different. Just as an example, if you happen to have 10 of them lying around, you could probably make 11, don't you think?
嘘。だってそんなことが人間と人参は違うよ。
Well, not to Kazuki, they aren't.
じゃあ、和樹は生きてるの?
Well, I don't know that. I'm not saying anything definite. If she's alive, why hasn't she shown herself to us? It's all a mystery. But there's one thing I'm confident about. I don't think Kazuki would accept death that easily. And she always did have a number of personalities, characters she'd play. By now she might as well be casually going about her business somewhere as a totally different person. I can't shake that feeling that she's still out there somewhere. At the time, 13 corpses were discovered at the crash site. Many of them had been horribly damaged. But the numbers matched. The investigators didn't have any reason to be suspicious. And the corpses were roughly identifiable. There was no point in DNA testing. Given the dismembered, partially consumed state of many of the bodies, a few missing parts wouldn't have inspired many serious doubts. And of course, Kazuki's head was never discovered. When they discovered the corpses, they did investigate and cause of death, but there was no DNA testing performed.
和樹が生きている?
Well, no, I'm just saying that it's possible to think that way. It's not like I have any real evidence or anything. We're just going by suspicions.
でも、和樹は言ったよ。私は死なないって。いつか必ずまた会えるからって。確か。
Right. But look, Amane, I'm not seriously trying to push this theory on you. All I meant was thinking Kazuki might still be alive somewhere, might help you find the courage to... You're not listening to a word I say, are you? Hold on, where are you going? Ugh. Apparently remembering something, Amane dashes off as if stung by a whip. I follow her. She flies up the stairs, throws open the door to her room, and begins rummaging around vigorously in her closet. Hello, Amane. Anyone home? What's this? Pulling out a storage case that had been carefully tucked away in the back of her closet, Amane takes out a sheaf of yellowed memo paper, wrinkled and stained by patches of dried mud. Even at a glance, I immediately recognized the familiar handwriting lining those pages. That's Kazuki's writing, isn't it?
そう、それは和樹が私のために用意してくれた密林脱出メモだよ。
You still have it? I take the leaves of paper, probably ripped out of a small notepad from Amane's hand. First, there's a rough map of the area around the camp, no doubt the product of Kazuki's independent investigations. She also included a number of methods to ascertain directions within the forest, including orientation by the stars. If your path ahead seems overly difficult, don't hesitate to take a detour, and when you think your physical strength may be failing you, take a rest. Use the time to discard items from your rucksack, beginning with the heavy and inessential. The soil is full of volcanic rock and dense minerals, so the tree's roots are shallow and twisted. Also, their access to sunlight is irregular. For these reasons, the directions of their growth won't be a reliable navigational tool. Maintaining pressure on your ankles offers some relief from swelling. Wear 2 sets of socks and pull them to the calf. Your lactic acid buildup will be less severe. Just don't expect this to offer much protection against leeches. Very methodical. That's Kazuki for you.
でね、ここ見て。
If you fail to escape... Huh?
和樹が残したメモには、脱出に失敗したら居留地に戻ってこいって書いてあって、和樹が非常食を隠した穴の位置が記された地図があったの。
I see. Well, judging from the fact that she wrote these notes, Kazuki may have known from the start that there was a good chance she'd be making your escape alone.
きっと和樹はこうなることを予想してたんだと思う。
But what made this come to mind all of a sudden?
あのさ、もしだよ、もし和樹が生きているとしたら、今和樹がどこにいるのかってヒントはここ。
Here at the scene of the accident.
そう、和樹が私に最後に残したものってきっとこの非常食を埋めた穴の中にあるんじゃないかな。和樹は事故の翌日、シャベルを抱えて一人で森の中に入っていった。あれってバスの中から回収した食料とかを埋めに行ってたんだと思うんだ。和樹は時々一人でふっといなくなることがあって、ずいぶんトイレに近い子なんだなって思ってたけど、多分頻繁にその穴に何かを隠しに行ってたんじゃないかって。
I see. That sounds like the unrealistic possibility of finding any clue that might lead us to Kazuki.
そう。それに、もし和樹が死んでいたとしても。ねえ、ユージ。行ってみない？
Oh, go to the scene. That seems... I mean, you...
確かに、まだきついかもしれない。苦しい思い出ばっかり詰まってる場所だしね。でも、いつかは克服しなければいけないことだと思うし、それに、ユージが一緒に行ってくれるなら、多分、大丈夫だと思うんだ。
I see.
まあ、ちょっとしたデートだと思ってさ。悪いけど、付き合ってよ。
Yeah, alright. Ugh, going back to the nightmare. The very next morning, we borrowed the mini truck from the school, because apparently we can do that. Packed the boxed lunches Amane made and readied ourselves to set off for the scene of the accident. At first, we'd planned to go by train, but the nearest station turned out to be more than 10 kilometers away from the mountain. Driving is far more convenient. The plan is to make our way to the site, park in the lot at the foot of the mountain, and walk from there. But fortunately, there's apparently been a memorial erected on the side of the crash, which means a path up the mountain was created as well. We shouldn't have to worry about getting lost, thank God. When we first decided on this trip, I'd imagined a grueling, dangerous hike through the woods, but you know, it turns out the memorial is only 2.8 kilometers from the parking lot at the foot of the mountain. We didn't need any particular elaborate plans for the walk itself, but on an emotional level, some preparations are still necessary.
それじゃあ私、お供え用のお花とお線香を買ってくるから、ここで少し待ってて。
Got it. Parking the mini truck near the Mishima Camp train station, Amane slowly lowers herself out of the driver's seat. And not that it's any surprise, but she seems a little awkward and subdued. Watching Amane walk off with purse in hand, dragging her feet like an exhausted office worker heading off to buy her low-calorie lunch, I heave a little sigh. To be perfectly honest, you know, it's not like I seriously believe Kazuki's still alive. You know, and I'm sure it's the same for Amane. I just think she wants closure. You know, if anything, the visit to the scene of the ordeal has more to do with Amane facing her own memories head on. You know, I don't think this secret stash of Kazuki's is particularly meaningful. My hopes aren't exactly high for some sort of clue. I'm just praying we don't end up digging up something unpleasant. If Kazuki left her last will and testament or something in that hole, Amane might come out of this bearing even deeper wounds than before. Even so, it's been 6 years since the accident. After all that time, Amane's finally gained the courage to return. This feels like a significant change, you know? Maybe she'll be able to start coming to terms with what happened. You know, maybe her burden will grow just a little bit lighter. The point of visiting a grave is to bring comfort in to those who left behind. That's a firm belief of mine. I might have been a little too lost in thought. I didn't notice the man approaching until he was standing immediately behind me.
Kazami Yuji-san desu yo ne?
Who's this guy? Yes? The man seemed to pop up out of nowhere. Concealing my surprise, I turned slowly to face him. Did he just call me by my name? He knows who I am? I'm not famous enough to be recognized by random strangers on the street. I carefully observe his face, then look over his clothing from head to toe with a single sweep of my eyes. A man with a light build, most likely in his mid-40s. I didn't recognize the face, though. Even though it's the middle of summer, he's wearing a windbreaker jacket, as though headed out on a fishing trip. He's got a hunting cap on top of his noticeably graying hair, and a beat-up old pair of long boots on his feet. On the whole, he leaves a pretty shabby impression, but the cologne he's wearing isn't cheap, and the glasses on his face are a first-class name brand. This guy's more than he puts on. I don't remember him as a local shop owner or anything, but if he's just some tourist coming to fish in the sea, it makes no sense that he'd know me by name. Excuse me, pardon my rudeness, but who are you?
おっとっとですよね。これは失礼。私は坂下と申しましてね。Amaneさんの大ファンなんですよ。
Wait, is that the captain's like father? Captain Sakashita, remember? That's her. That's her father, probably. Amane's.
最近なんですか。Amaneさんに彼氏ができたと小耳に挟みましてね。一度お会いしてみたいなと思っておったのですよ。
Okay. You came here just to meet me. Why?
いえいえいえいえ。今日ここでお会いしたのは偶然なんですけどね。たまたまAmaneさんとご一緒のところをお見かけしたもので、なぜか妙に嬉しくなってしまいましてね。ついお声をかけさせていただいたと。
Is that so? That's a load of crap. The story's dubious enough. My intuition's telling me there's something insincere about this man. For one thing, he's forcing his face into a smile by jerking up the edges of his mouth. For another, his eyes are dark and cold. And there's a strange superficial gleam floating on the surface. They resemble two deep wells of oil. The man stinks. His body odor's normal enough, but something about him stinks. There's a familiar unpleasant smell that makes the back of my nose tinkle ominously. The scent of bloodlust, tinged with madness. Pardon me, but what do you do for a living?
まあこんな身なりですからね。わからんのも無理もない話ですな。実はつい最近まで IT 関連の会社の取締役をしてたのですが、どうにも生きがいというものをなくしてしまいましてね。急に仕事がバカらしくなったとでも言いますか。今はご覧の通り恥ずかしながら無職の身でしてね。
I know the feeling, buddy. Sorry to hear that. I see. Who is he? At the very least, he doesn't seem to be involved in my line of work. The face isn't familiar, but more importantly, he holds himself far too loosely for a pro. Even the Langley suits who spend most of their time behind desks project a little more menace than this.
それでもね、会社を畳んでみて初めて分かったことというものもありましてね。真っ白だった私の頭の中にぽつりと目標のようなものが浮かんできたんですわ。
This guy's gonna try to kill me.
目標なんて言ったら少し大げさかもしれませんね。
Are you feeling alright?
何がでしょう。そうか。時間ですか。私は暇ですが、そうですね。いきなりこんな話を聞かされても退屈ですよね。
No, not at all.
それじゃ私はこれで失礼します。くだらない話に付き合わせてしまってどうもすみませんでした。
The man abruptly turns around and walks right off, his small hunched back unsteadily swaying back and forth. I watched him as he goes, but all of a sudden he seems to have disappeared into thin air. What the? The sound of his footsteps, the faint smell of his cologne, the sight of his hunting cap waving forward, I can't pick up any trace of the man. He melted into the low buzz of the station streets as if he were never here in the first place. That wasn't a ghost, was he? Nah. Of course, I don't really believe in such a thing, but that sudden appearance and equally abrupt exit were about as ghostly as it gets.
お待たせ。何？どうか？
No, it's nothing. This weird old man just struck up a conversation, that's all.
変なおっさん？誰？
I don't know, kind of a creepy one though. There's no doubt in my mind that he's an amateur. But I can't get over this gleam of madness in those eyes. I've seen that gleam before. Those are the eyes of a man who's thrown away everything. The eyes of a man who fixated himself on one goal, abandoning all for the sake of his country, comrades, or family. The crazed eyes of a fanatic. Amane, he called himself your fan. Does anyone come to mind?
自慢じゃないけど、私中年には結構モテるからな。誰だろう。
I have a bad feeling about this.